It's game night, and the party has finished their trek up the mountain. Torchlight falls on the glitter of gold spilling out into the long abandoned hall. This dwarven hold has played host to a creature far more dangerous than the stout folk or their contraptions. The party was told the way was long and treacherous, but they're completely recovered from the 2 or 3 minor inconveniences faced on the road. The small team of fighters and rogues inch forward, and they feel the hot breath of a creature they've come to fear. Every snore singes chest hair and makes the eyes water. Someone fails to keep themselves quiet. A startled yelp of fright escapes before the fighter can clamp their hand over the rogue's mouth. The unnerving, irregular snores are replaced by the far scarier sound of silence. Everybody extinguishes their torches, coins rustle in the darkness, a pinprick of light appears at the end of the hall. It grows brighter, illuminating a cage of teeth a moment before fire erupts through the hallway, burning up the very oxygen the party can breathe, dealing 24 fire damage, save for half. Howdy folks, Gelatinous here. I've criticized the modern treatments of dragons a number of times in my past videos, but as of this recording, I've never done a huge deep dive into better mechanics for the beast. We'll begin to rectify that issue today as we discuss how 1st edition AD&D dealt with draconic breath weapons. Alright, so here's how 1st edition handles dragon breath weapons. Are you ready folks? They deal damage equal to the dragon's current hit points. It's so simple you might even find yourselves disappointed. There's no small mountain of dice to be rolled after all. If your dragon has 40 hit points, it deals 40 damage, save for half. That's a lot of damage back in 1st edition. We hadn't ruined all of the math yet. The certain death kind of damage. And let me tell you, I absolutely adore this mechanic, the idea that dragons are more deadly the more healthy they are. Lots of folks complain, or have historically complained. You don't see it as much today, but back in the past, back in the early days of the hobby especially, lots of folks would complain that hit points should diminish your effectiveness in combat. I think, broadly speaking, hit points are defensible. They work just fine, but I don't mind an exception like this. I can think of 2 primary benefits to tying breath weapon damage to a dragon's hit points. First up is the idea of combat prep. See, special conditions in combat can be explicit, like objectives or no modifiers to rolls, or they can be implicit, facts about the battle that affect player decisions indirectly. A dragon in AD&D has enough hit points that dealing equivalent damage is certain death, even on a save for a lot of characters. Even a dragon at half health can wipe out characters should the players fail a save. So how are your players supposed to survive? Well, they could ambush the dragon. Seems a tad risky, but maybe they could buffer their precious hit points with something less valuable. Hirelings, men-at-arms, a unit of light footmen at the cave's entrance should do the trick, but maybe they get wiped out before they get a real shot at the dragon or lose morale. Well, maybe the party lures another creature to the cave and gets the dragon to use the breath weapon on it, or well, if we're getting the dragon to use up its breath weapon ahead of time, what if we paid the dragon to go attack something? Then when the dragon gets back, we take its gold and whatever we paid it with, but alright, well we still need a buffer in case it has a breath weapon left, so let's go booby-trap the gold with spells. Planning a hunt or otherwise preparing for a fight is one of the most delightful parts of combat in any game, provided planning actually influences the outcome of the battle. The breath weapon mechanic of 1st edition presents a knowable risk. The players can take actions that change. If they want to reduce the breath weapon's effectiveness, the party knows what to do. How to do it is up to them. That's the implicit special condition. That's the mark of a mechanic. Players don't have to plan for it. They're not forced to modify their actions for the mechanic, but the players are potentially well rewarded for doing so. The dopamine hit comes during the planning stage and when the plan is executed successfully. It's such good design. Alternate breath weapons. So here's a bit of potential that went unrealized. Tying hit points to dragon breath weapons opens up the design space of alternative breath weapons. I wrote down a few ideas for them here. I got sleep or sleep poison breaths. Aaron the Pedantic mentioned this in his Discord, and it's what inspired me to make this video to begin with. A sleep breath could divide hit points between the party to knock them out. Sleep poison could deal sleep damage over time, eventually knocking the players out, and again dividing the hit points between the targets. Or it could work like Subdual. The targets regain 1 hit point lost in this way per round. Number 2. Necrotic Breath. What if a dragon's breath weapon literally raised the dead with a total equal to its current hit points? A dragon with 40 hit points is sitting on not just a pile of gold, but also a ton of bones and the remains of dead adventurers. What if the breath weapon then raises 40 hit points worth of skeletons, zombies, grave guard, ghouls, whatever y'all can think of? It's perfect for Dracolich or other kind of undead dragon. There's the Abjuration Breath, number 3. This beneficial breath weapon could provide a buffer of hit points spread out between the targets given by the dragon to the party, given to the targets against probably magic. Extra hit points that you could use against a fireball or a scorching ray, or maybe even sleep. Maybe it could even count for sleep, of all things. An alternative to this breath weapon would probably be something that protected against the dragon's specific element. So if a fire dragon decided to give you some kind of boon or gift, or wanted you to survive something else in particular, it could give you the Abjuration Breath, but against fire. And again, of course, we're still relying on the dragon's current hit points to provide this. In fact, these next two are also draconic gifts. Number 4 is... hold on here, I wrote XP Breath down. Don't get me wrong, I like the idea of dragons giving y'all experience points, but we need a metric for, other than hit points, for how much XP. Probably something like the price for buying and selling dragons. Guess what's coming up next, folks? Number 5, hit points. This is better as a draconic gift. It more clearly maps onto the dragon's current hit points, or available hit points, and you spread out either a permanent or temporary set of hit points between the party. Now, one of our subscribers, the Emerald City Elicitor, recommended their very own alternative breath weapon. I figured I'd share it here for posterity. And of course, to incentivize my subscribers to comment more often, I will put you in these videos. Emerald City mentioned a amber or honey themed dragon spewing amber or honey. Well, how would that be affected by dragon hit points? See, the hardened material surrounding the ground or your party is going to be dependent on those. Y'all can imagine a cocoon forming around party members who get hit by the breath weapon. If y'all want to break out of the cocoon, they've got hit points equal to the breath weapon spread out across each bit of amber, and you best get swinging. Alright, now, should we use this rule today? Y'all know what? Absolutely yes, we should. Make dragons deadly again. Make it necessary to catch a dragon off guard, or at the very least desirable. Prepare abjuration spells or potions, or hope it doesn't have breath weapons remaining if y'all want to survive. Normally, I have a section for objections in this part of the video, but it's not exactly clear why this mechanic faded from the hobby. There's no obvious historical record pointing to the cause. People like this idea when they hear it for the first time, and they like it when they test it out. If I had to speculate, supposedly, dragons in 2nd edition are far more deadly, and if we were to put dragons on a gradient between Deadly Predator and Fantasy Kaiju, 2nd edition certainly trends towards the latter, at least according to its adherents, but 1st edition has markets for buying and selling dragons. Dragons are supposed to be somewhat common. They're great ambush predators. Fighting them without preparation makes it really likely you'll die, but Dragons only get 3 breath weapons per day. They are the glass cannons of old. They match the definition perfectly. And a lot of folks prefer dragons as kaiju, even as it prevents them from using dragons often. I think it's time to go back. Say, if y'all like this video, consider giving me a subscribe. We chat about tabletop games, video games, and if y'all want to support the channel, check out 7 Willows on Kickstarter. Music was provided by Blue Dot Sessions, and a very hearty thank you to Mariana for the art.